Now, for those of you who don't know, Reddit has been considered a bastion of freedom of speech for a long time, and I don't mean that sarcastically. The Reddit administrators, I think Spez is his name, is like this libertarian, like, fuck it, everything's okay, free speech, we'll let the people decide, community voting, upvotes, downvotes, kind of thing. Historically, the only time Reddit has ever actually banned subreddits has been when the news media gets involved. So, for example, one of the most popular subreddits in Reddit's history was Jailbait, where you would just post underage pictures of attractive girls. Or, pictures of underage attractive girls. There we go. The pictures weren't underage. They were just pictures. But, and of course, now, I know what you're thinking. Were they clothed? The answer is yes. That's why the ingenious Redditeurs who perused that subreddit had the phenomenal idea to just trade child pornography in the background. There was a massive child pornography network going on through Jailbait, because as it turns out, and this is going to shock you, if you jerk off to pictures of 15-year-old girls at the beach wearing swimwear, you will also jerk off to pictures of 15-year-old girls who are being raped by their abusive overage boyfriends who are taking pictures of it and selling those pictures to make money that they can use to buy drugs. Now, I know that may seem like a stretch, but yeah, as it turns out, that actually is the case. And Jailbait was huge. It's actually difficult for you to fathom how big. Jailbait might as well have been a default sub. I'm not joking. Like, Jailbait got so much traffic that it was larger than some of the default subs at the time on Reddit. Meaning that if they only gave default subs based on traffic and activity, you would have booted up Reddit for the first time and it would have been like movies, television, books, funny, Jailbait, and so on and so forth. A default sub is a subreddit that's considered essential enough to Reddit that it's automatically added to your subscriptions when you make a new account. So that's cool. Only banned when the news got wind of it. Anyway, that's been Reddit's modus operandi for a long time. But as of, I think about 10 hours ago, it was pretty damn recent, they have rolled out a new moderation policy. And hey, listen, we got some wins and we got some losses, okay, folks? First of all, I want all of us to line up F's in chat. Chapo Trap House is gone. The subreddit, not the podcast. We pour one out. As it so happens, Chapo Trap House was quarantined a while back for the radical opinion that it's okay to do violence against slave owners, and now they're banned permanently. And I'm going to talk about that for a second, but first of all, I want to celebrate the comparative victory that we have enjoyed. You know what? First of all, fuck Chapo Trap House. That subreddit fucking hated me. Every single fucking post in that subreddit that was about me was calling me a fucking rapist, pedophile piece of shit. Okay, fuck them. Seriously. Okay, no, fuck them. It was a hotbed of tankies and dipshit 16-year-olds who think that being edgy is the same as being radical, okay? No, fuck them, okay? It was a terrible subreddit, and frankly, the hosts of Chapo Trap House also thought it was a terrible subreddit. They are currently on Twitter right now celebrating. Will Menaker, Twitter. So seen. You truly hate to see it. Will Menaker's response. Okay? Look. Chapo Trap House was, listen, they weren't sending their best, folks, okay? They weren't doing it, okay? Chapo Trap House was not our best. But I'll get to more of that in a second. Because as far as I can tell, Chapo Trap House was the only left-leaning subreddit that got nuked. Here are some other subreddits that got nuked. There were about 2,000 that got nuked, mind you. So, first of all, the Donald. Whew! That one took a little while. The Donald started out as a satirical subreddit made by anti-Trumpers that was then co-opted by pro-Trumpers because, as it turns out, if you are pretending to be a dumb fuck on the internet, dumb fucks will find themselves attracted to you and you will soon be in their company. That's how it works. I'm really sorry. See also Gamers Rise Up. See also the entirety of 4chan. Like, yeah, you can only play in the shit for, ironically, for so long before people who actually like shit join you. So there's that. And we'll talk more about that in a second as well. Gender Critical, huge TERF subreddit. Nothing else to say about it. Consume Product. Alt-right subreddit disguised as anti-consumerist subreddit. Recently featured on my stream. Caught that right before it got deleted. Clerical Fascism. Don't think that one needs any explanation. Smuggies. Political, like, webcomics, basically, but with a far-right bent. Debate Alt-right. Filled with alt-righters sucking each other off about how good they are at debate. Bruh funny. Didn't know that one. Shit Neocon says. Sounds innocuous, right? Nope. Alt-right subreddit. This is kind of like Shit Liberals says and how it's being run by, like, lefties. This is Shit Neocon say. So essentially, Shit Neocon says was a neocon conservative would say something like, we're building the wall. However, we do believe that America is a place where people of all races can be comfortable. And then Shit Neocon says would say, you fucking degenerate, you stupid piece of shit. America was made for white Protestants and nobody else. If you're not Anglo-Saxon, you can get the fuck out. And that was basically Shit Neocon says. Soy Boys, you can probably guess what kind of political bent they had. I'm going to hell for this too, likewise. Alt-right Christian, likewise. The Honk Pill, likewise. Top-notch shitposting. I don't know this subreddit. I don't know if by notch they mean like Notch, like the Nazi game developer. I don't know. The New Right, alt-right subreddit. Dark humor and memes. Who do you think was making those jokes, guys? Right-wing LGBT, you can probably guess. White Beauty, you can probably guess. The Third Position, you can probably guess. Smuggies was... They listed Smuggies twice here. We Was Kangs. You get it. Another subreddit that was banned was Dark Joke Central, Wojak, and Cumtown. Now, Cumtown, regardless of what you might think about the podcast, the Cumtown subreddit was a Nazi haven. It actually went private like a year ago because the moderators realized that their user base was so far right that they were going to get banned unless they privated it. And it didn't even save them. It was really bad. Listen, Cumtown I do think is too edgy for my takes. I do think it's irresponsible. That's my personal opinion. However, I have listened to a few episodes of Cumtown. They're very funny, okay? They're very funny. They're clearly not far right. You know, they're just very, very edgy. Respect given where respect is due. Even if I have problems with their delivery and everything else, it's a fun... What is it, though? It's a comedy podcast where they say retard a lot. It's, you know... Anyway, but the Cumtown subreddit was just Nazi posting. Like, that was the Cumtown subreddit. See, that's the thing. You know that old joke? All edge, no point? You know that joke? The thing is, comedians will often use very edgy language to deliver some kind of satirical, dark reflection of the world that we live in, you know? They hold a mirror up to the unwashed masses, and they're supposed to be frightened by what they see. You know, like, that's the job of the comedian. And, you know, it's cool. Great. The issue is that takes talent and intelligence. But if you're stupid and you like the edgy jokes, but you don't know how to follow through on any of the comedy, if you just like the edge and that's all you can pick up from it, invariably you're just going to attract a fan base of people who think that edge for edge's sake is that's the joke, you know? It's not great. That's why, and this is a rule in my community as well, you get to be edgy, but no edgier than me. That's the line. I don't ever want to develop an audience of people who like my content because I'm edgy, but that's all they get from it, you know? So they're like, I'm a Vosh fan, haha, femoids, foids, Arstler, whatever, you know, like, I don't really want that audience. I mean, you can enjoy me, but leave my name out of it, okay? Because when you invoke my name in that context, you make me look very bad. Whatever the case is, a lot of subreddits got banned. Now, unfortunately, the entire list of subreddits is 2,000 long, and of them, only 10% of those subreddits had more than 10 active users, meaning most of them were tiny little junk subreddits that are irrelevant. So we don't need to focus on those. What I would like to talk about, though, is what this means for us. Okay? Can we talk about that real quick? So why are the names censored? I don't know. That was just the person who compiled the list. Now hold on. Reddit subreddit bans. There was a news article that had a excerpt. Here we go. So Reddit has run out a new moderation policy. Are you ready to hear it? You ready? Remember the human. Reddit is a place for creating community and belonging, not for attacking marginalized or vulnerable groups of people. Everyone has a right to use Reddit free of harassment, bullying, and threats of violence. Communities and people that incite violence or that promote hate based on identity or vulnerability will be banned. Now, is this a completely facile and, performative gesture of like sort of progressive moderation? Yes. Could this conceivably be to our benefit? Absolutely. And I do not think it is a coincidence that essentially every single subreddit that was banned was far right, with the exception of Chapo Trap House. And now people at Chapo have always made this joke. Back when I perused that subreddit before they started to fucking hate me, they always made the joke, if the Donald ever got banned, Chapo would be as well. That would be the enlightened centrist altar at which Chapo would be sacrificed. And so it happened, and bless. And so did the prophecy come to pass. Great. Now, I am a big fan of this. Can you tell? This whole Reddit smorgasbord. And the reason for this is because, oh yeah, the serves? I'll have to check it out sometime soon. The reason for this is because I actually agree with what Reddit is saying here. Listen, everyone has a right to use Reddit free of harassment, bullying, and threats of violence. What does that mean exactly? Well, I submit this to you, and this is an argument that I've made before. Freedom of speech requires moderation. In essence, some types of speech have to be prohibited in order for us to truly be able to enjoy freedom of speech. Now, what is this 1984 horseshit doublespeak, completely incomprehensible set of positions that I've laid forth? Let me explain to you, okay? Now, it's called the paradox of tolerance, but I'm going to pretend I'm inventing this, okay? I've used this allegory before, okay? Now, imagine you have a society that loves driving. Loves driving. This is what this society prioritizes. Our First Amendment, freedom of speech. Their First Amendment, being able to drive. Vroom, vroom, baby. That's what they care about, okay? Now, in our current society, right now, today, in America, I don't know what the fuck you people are doing over there in Europe, Eurasia, Africa, South America, but over here in North America, the only America, we drive on roads. And sometimes, in some parts of the country, you can drive wherever you want. If you're in the middle of Nevada, for example, you can just kind of drive off a road. Actually, like 80% of Nevada is federal property. Be careful about that. You're gonna get shot. But there are parts of the world where you can just drive around because you don't need no roads. However, not all of us live in these wacky rural areas where you can drive wherever the fuck you want. Many of us live in cities, and in cities, the places where you can drive a car are actually fairly limited. But here's the kicker. The fact that there are limitations to where we are able to drive is what allows us to drive at all. If we could drive cars anywhere, onto sidewalks, into bank lobbies, if we could drive cars the wrong way on the wrong side of the street, if we could drive them up the down ramp in parking garages, if we could drive them anywhere we wanted to, if we wanted to pick little Timmy up from school and we could just slowly drive into the cafeteria, you know, the bones of children and glass crunching underneath our wheels as we try to pick out our kid amongst the dozens that are screaming and crying and running for cover. Would this be a society which has a healthy relationship with driving? Even if we ignore all of the jokey running over kids sort of stuff, we recognize that by implementing rules which dictate our ability to drive, we actually make society more capable of facilitating as much vehicular transport as possible. I know this is a stupid and wacky analogy, but if you really think about it for a second, it does make sense. We can only drive because there are rules for driving, and likewise with speech. What exactly happens to a, let's say, internet forum when there are no rules for discourse whatsoever and you can do or say anything you want? Anything you want. There are no moderation policies, no TOS. Well, invariably what will happen is the same thing that has happened in many such forums online, which is that everyone who isn't a white man gets bullied off. Because as it turns out, if a black dude is just looking to spend his day doing something cool and fun, he probably doesn't want to have to contend every single fucking time he goes online with a gaggle of dipshits making jokes about his race. And same likewise for women. And I'm just talking about jokes. I can tell you, as somebody who's active in the political sphere, that things extend beyond jokes pretty frequently, and very often the threats of violence go in one direction against one group of people, against a certain other type of people. And what this means, essentially, is that there's a chilling effect being placed in the free speech of people who don't have the social power to defend themselves initially. There are no parts of the internet, or at the least very few parts of the internet, where men and where white people fear to go online because they will be ruthlessly mocked for their race or gender. It's not super common. I'm sure there are some places, as we saw with Glinner, Mumsnet, maybe if you go there and you're a man, you get made fun of, I guess, or maybe there are some parts of Twitter where white people get made fun of, I guess, you know. But for the most part, the idea of being like unilaterally condemned and like harassed for your race or gender, this isn't really something that happens to white people or to men or to cisgender people or to straight people, however far you want to take that. Which means they have impunity to shape the internet however the fuck they want to. They can go into essentially any part of the internet, and they can bend it to fit their comfort because there's no threat against them, socially or materially. And that's just not the case for everyone. Freedom of speech is contingent on the ability for every single person in this country and every single person online to be able to express their opinions without fear of harassment, threats, bullying, doxing, whatever. And in that sense, the people who threaten, the people who bully, the people who harass, and the people who dox are meaningfully damaging the ability for those people to express themselves freely. And so for that reason, I celebrate Reddit's decision to get rid of these terrible fucking subreddits, including Chapo. Fuck you, Chapo. Because in doing so, they have made Reddit a place that is more free and more expressive for the vast majority of its population. And I know what you're thinking. Vosh, are you really suggesting that the ability for the billions of women and people of color in the world, the billions of marginalized, to express themselves online without fear of harassment, is more important than the rights for a small group of people to express their desire for an ethno-state? To which my answer is, yes. That is a trade-off that I am willing to make. That is true. That's my pro-freedom trade-off right there, baby. If it comes down to it, if it's a 1v1, if we have to pursue a small group of genocidal people and their free speech, as opposed to the rest of the planet, and their and their ability to express themselves freely, yeah, that's an easy trade on my end. Absolutely. You could always just not be far right, whereas women and people of color, generally speaking, are, you know, pretty committed to those courses in their life. And now, with regards to the Chapo Trap House ban, Chapo Trap House was not a far-right, crazy, super bad subreddit. Wait, hold on. Do you support things like this IRL too? Would you jail people over speech? Nope. I'm talking about moderation policy and TOS. I do not think the government should have the ability to jail people for their free right to express themselves. I am very much pro First Amendment. I'm talking about discourse that is privately moderated. I think it would be a very bad precedent if the government started jailing people for like harassing others online. I think that'd be a pretty unsustainable juncture. Now, With that being said, with regards to Chapo Trap House specifically, much as I personally dislike that subreddit, and I do, they were not anywhere near as bad as the other subreddits that were banned, in large part because it was a left-leaning subreddit, and being left-leaning is good, whereas being right-leaning is bad. Just a, helpful little litmus test right there in case you're ever wondering whether something is good or bad in the future. You can use that standard. Now, there were problems with Chapo Trap House. Most of them weren't really relevant to the moderation policy laid out by Reddit, though. The main issue with Chapo Trap House is that they did glorify violence a lot. They did do that. They were constantly talking revolution, guillotines, kill cops, kill everyone, blah, blah, blah. And they did that. And they never, very rarely did I see in Minecraft. And that, let me tell you folks, that right there is the caveat that'll keep your subreddit in action, okay? Now, is this cringy LARP shit? Yes, it is. Is there a reason why I banned this stuff from my Discord? Yes, there is. Did I act like that just a year and a half ago before starting this channel? Yes, I did. So how hypocritical am I now for condemning them? Well, we all have time to move and grow, don't we? We can learn from Chapo Trap House, I think. And this is what I'd like to do moving forward. And I think this is really important, okay? So stick with me on this one. Reddit's moderation policy is inevitably going to be used as a sort of apolitical bludgeon against people who advocate for violence. Obviously. I mean, if you're advocating for violence, you're in violation of the Reddit TOS anyway, so it's not like that isn't new or anything. Here's my healthy suggestion to you guys. Why don't we just not advocate for violence, like on Reddit and stuff like that? I'll let that sink in for a second. What if we just didn't? Because here's the thing, and this is the gambit I'm willing to make. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Revolutionary violence is the greatest and most effective means of political change, is the catalyst for material conditions evolving, and I consider it a near inevitability that we will come to that position sometime in the future in this country. However, when it comes to advocating for your own political interests, why do we need to focus on that? There are so many things leftists online can talk about that don't touch on potentially TOS shit, you know? We can talk about, god damn it. We can talk about wealth inequality. We can talk about the conditions of the developing world. We can talk about foreign policy. We can talk about Rojava. We can talk about Venezuela. We can talk about Bolivia. We can talk about Bernie Sanders. We can talk about AOC. There are institutional racism. We can talk about so many things. You can talk about George Floyd without having to talk about murdering cops. I know it's crazy. And I know what you're thinking right now, but I want it. Well, that's great. But I want to win. And that's the benefit we have that they don't have. That's our advantage over the far right online. It's that we're not fucking crazy. Every single far right subreddit will inevitably descend into genocidal advocacy, no matter what. They are not capable of avoiding that pitfall. Every single one of them will end up talking about the Jewish question, will end up talking about degeneracy, will end up talking about Holocaust denial, or end up talking about all sorts of stuff that will invariably get them tripped up in the TOS. They're not capable of avoiding it, because whatever brain state it takes to lead a person towards that political ideology does not lead a person towards the ability to recognize why that's a bad idea. I'll give you an example for this, and you might remember this from the Sean video that was done on the subject. Do you remember Lauren Southern's video? The Great Replacement video? Do you remember that one? Now, Lauren Southern, to my knowledge, has never mentioned the Jews. I don't believe Lauren Southern has ever directly or overtly mentioned Jewish people with regards to conspiracism or anything like that. Probably because Lauren Southern benefits substantially from not being associated with neo-Nazis, or at least, in the eyes of the normies. But if you looked at the comment section of that video, it's been removed, by the way, the Great Replacement video. Not sure why. I guess that's nice. But if you look at the comment section of that video, back before it was removed, almost every single comment was about how the Jews were the one orchestrating it. Nazis are not smart enough to play this game. They can't dog whistle very well. They have fun. They have a lot of fun with their little, okay sign, milk 1488 bullshit. But it's really something they just do for the sake of each other. When it comes to actually like looking respectable in the eyes of content moderation, they're not capable of doing it. They're not intelligent or restrained enough to navigate that social space effectively. And that is our advantage over them. So that's it. That's what I'm ending on, okay? Far-right subreddits are going to keep getting banned. And you know why? It's not because their interests meaningfully challenge the interests of capital. Trump got elected president even though he was very anti-immigration, and immigration does ostensibly benefit transnational corporations. Nazis get banned from subreddits and so on and so forth because they're stupid and bad at following TOS. And that's on them, okay? That's on them. I'm not taking any responsibility for their incompetence. So let's be better than them. Future lefty subreddits. Chapo Trap House 2. Chapo Imprisonment Abode. I don't know. Whatever the fuck comes next, all right? Let's play it cool. Have fun. You can be edgy without violating TOS, And remember, we're holding to the TOS because, in all fairness, it benefits us 99% of the time. And, that's a case for pragmatism that I think is worth pursuing. Anyway, Godspeed, ton of subreddits got banned, and you know what? Fuck all of them. And especially fuck Consume Product, because I am so fucking tired of these Nazi dipshits pretending they're anti-consumerist, when in reality what they actually mean is that they hate brown people, okay? They're not anti-fucking consumerist. I have never met an anti-consumerist Nazi. These people define themselves through commodity acquisition just as much as every fucking suburbanite liberal, okay? I have never, maybe once in a blue moon, you get some far-right dipshit who lives out in the forest and shaves their beard with like oak bark shavings that they've trimmed down to a razor's edge or something, but the vast majority of them are just your standard enemy-ridden, alienated white boys who have absolutely no fucking engagement with their society beyond that which they purchase, okay? So, yeah, nah, fuck them. Quit aping our shit, all right? Jesus Christ. Fuck me, dude. The original neo-Nazis were literally defined by Have you noticed what online Nazis jerk themselves off over? It's the fucking uniforms. It's the aesthetics of fascism are intrinsically tied to the commodities that were produced by the corporations that Nazi Germany, everything from their cars to their war machines, to their clothing, to their weaponry, to the interior of their house. When you Nazis are jerking off to those fucking mail-in catalogs of 1950s kitchen interior designs, you're jerking off to advertisements. When you look at a bunch of your cool paintings, they took this from us, and you're looking at a painting of like a woman in like a matronly dress serving up a dinner to a husband, you're jerking off to Macy's advertisements. You're not anti-consumerist. You're just born in the wrong generation. Nah, not really. Fuck you.